Welcome to the UK Fantasy Football Show, Goal's weekly podcast that discusses many a football fan's favourite pastime. We'll be reacting to the results of Game Week 22, delving into the complete flipping fortunes of Liverpool and Manchester United, and revealing our teams for Game Week 23. I'm joined as ever by Sam and Dave, and this week's guest is Goal's Liverpool correspondent Neil Jones, who's returning for his second stint this season. I think it was pre-season when you came on before, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And at that point, did you dream that Liverpool would be this far ahead? Did you even think it would be the case? Do you think Man City would be up there, or?
Yeah, I didn't fancy. Well, I wouldn't say I didn't fancy Liverpool. I didn't think they'd win the league.
No.
So you think they've won the league already?
Well, yeah.
It's just
So you're not worried about
Liverpool,
jinxing it?
There it is.
You're confident now at this point?
I mean, yeah. I make them favourites. I do. Yeah.
I think they're like 50 to 1 on with some bookmakers
right?
now,
Yeah.
which is just, I think it's pretty clear cut now that it'd take a catastrophic.
Yeah, it'd be unprecedented, wouldn't it? I think, what would Alex Ferguson call it? A Devon lock for them to not win it now.
Are you seeing similar results in fantasy football this season?
Not personally, no.
Not
no. I probably should have followed Liverpool a lot earlier than I did. But yeah, I'm not doing too bad. I'm ahead of Dave.
Yeah, ahead of Dave. It's a low bar.
Above average.
I was going to have a little dig there at Dave's team, but actually I was looking before this, right? And Dave's top scored in the last 3 weeks between us.
Thank you very much.
So he's on the up.
Catching you.
The form side.
You are.
Which
Am I actually?
You are, slowly but surely you are.
You pulled 2 points back on me.
If the season lasted another 2 years, I might.
You'd be there.
So yeah, Sam got 59 points this game week. Dave got 61, and I got 49.
Oh,
Didn't have a good week.
79.
79 you
79 I got, yeah.
Who did you get for that?
I had
Did you have Aguero?
Rashford as captain.
That's good.
Yeah, Mahrez.
17 points Mahrez got.
Mahrez, yeah.
That's a good pick.
Yeah, not done too bad.
Couple of none of us have Aguero, do we? Got 20 points at the weekend. I noticed that the guy who's now top of our league, a Bangladeshi listener called Muyinul Islam, got 106 points this weekend.
Wow.
Has
he got Aguero?
He captains Aguero, yeah.
Has he got Ings?
I didn't see
it.
it.
That's a lot of the teams at the top that did have Ings, didn't they, last week when we were looking? But I was wondering,
as well,
they've got a tough run though of Southampton. I said this last week.
He scored, it was 13 of his last 17 games he scored.
I need to get on that. I don't know what I'm doing not having him at this point now.
I got on him with a wild card last week, so I picked up a few points from him. But not as many as I was hoping.
It was a bold wild card because, as we said, you've been doing quite well the last couple of weeks, but you wild carded anyway. I held back, and I have big regrets about that decision to hold back. But you gambled and it worked.
It's come off all right. I don't think it was a splendid week. I think if Mane had scored a few more points, it certainly helped.
It was a high average this week, so the average was 57 points.
Yeah.
So although 61 and 59 both good scores, they're not like in some weeks that would be an amazing score.
Yeah.
Whereas this, it was kind of just like pretty good.
I was happy with my picks though. For the we talked about the wild card and we chose 3 players, didn't we? And I mentioned Decore, who's
14
on fire
points
for Watford since Pearson took over.
Yeah.
And he brought in 14, yeah. And Richarlison was another one he scored last week.
Did you put him in?
I didn't get him in my team. I couldn't get him in. Couldn't afford him, unfortunately.
You talk the talk, but you just fail to walk the walk, don't you?
Well, not really. It was advice. It was advice. I can't, play with the figures, unfortunately.
Very altruistic
I'd love to.
of you,
yeah.
Very impressive.
And Ings was the other one, wasn't he? I mentioned, but
yeah. So you're now closing the gap. So you're 59 points behind me now. I think you were 100.
Still feels like
it's
a lot.
Still a lot, but you were 100 points behind.
Yeah, it's a lot.
That's a triple captain, though.
It is. It's an Aguero 20 pointer.
Imagine that if I nail a triple captain.
Oh, you haven't used yours yet, have you?
No.
You must be the only one of the 3.
Oh, no, wait a minute. I have, haven't I?
Who did you use yours? Oh,
I did use it in Vardy, yeah.
Oh,
I used it on Vardy. I did okay, I think, that week.
He's gone.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm totally gone. What have I got left? Bench boost or something?
That's the only, because you've used your free hit.
Yeah, that's not going to do you much good looking at your bench
reckon?
there. Unless Martin Stecklenberg scores a couple of surprise goal kicks.
Well, what about Cantwell? Oh, Cantwell could do well against Bournemouth this week.
You're going to do your bench boost?
I might do.
Go all out. Keep that comeback coming.
Yeah.
How have you done in the cup, by the way?
I'm out.
You're out. Oh, I was excited for you.
We had at least 2 weeks of excitement out of that, didn't we? Last week I lost to a team called Elvis, who got 66 points and I got 61, so I'm out of the cup.
You did all right. You did 6 weeks there.
I know, I had a bit of a run going.
First week I was gone.
Were you?
Yeah.
None of us
rested all my team.
I was out the first week as well. Yeah. Sam didn't even qualify, I think.
I just want to focus on the league.
Who did well for you this week? Was it Brandon Williams that got you like 10 points?
Brandon Williams.
What a pick that was.
He's a baller, isn't he?
Yeah.
he's everything that Luke Shaw isn't.
Do you reckon he'll get a proper run in the team now, or is it going
I
to be?
hope so. Obviously, he played last night, so I don't know whether Solskjaer would want to throw him in to the proverbial lion's den of Anfield. But I always get the impression that Williams has got the mindset to just go
Doesn't
up
look
there
phased,
and
does he?
absolutely smash Salah to pieces.
That's what you want to see.
If you can catch him.
So yeah, Williams, McTominay, Rashford, Greenwood, the future's bright.
Your shit housing dream team.
just the present. Just the present.
We'll touch on that in a second. So just to look at the standings in the UK Fantasy Football Show, Sam now has 1,225. I have 1,197, and Dave has 1,138. Listeners, you can test yourself against us all season long. The code to type in on the FPL website is NHC4WZ. Let's move on then to this week's big talking point. Big game this weekend, Liverpool against Manchester United. So in honour of Neil joining us, we thought we'd focus not just on the game, but on the sort of flipping fortunes that we've seen, really, with Liverpool and Manchester United over the past decade, and what it is that's happened, what's gone so wrong for Man United, what's gone so right for Liverpool. So I guess start with Liverpool. How do you see it holding out for this current decade? Because the last decade, it's definitely been a real progression from what was a very mediocre early 2000s. Do you think they can continue this or not?
Yeah, I think they've got to be thinking they're in a position where for the next few years they can start the season by thinking they can win the Premier League. I would say that's been the case the last 2 seasons, maybe 3. I think you look at not just the quality of Liverpool squad, but the quality of rival squads and comparable teams. I think you've got to look and say, well, they've got to cash in at this moment in time, while Manchester United are changing their structure, while Chelsea are in a bit of a flux, while Arsenal are in there, while Tottenham are struggling as they have done this season. I think Liverpool have got to look and say this is the time when they put the foot down and really establish themselves again. I think it's odd, isn't it, that Liverpool and Manchester United such a big rivalry, and yet can you ever think of an extended period where they've been competing with each other really at the top of the league?
It's not extended period.
It's more just the sort of passing of the baton, isn't it? And then one falls down to the role of underdog, and the other one takes over the role. So yeah, it's maybe it's Liverpool's turn for, I don't know,
Some
20
glory.
years or so.
That'd be nice for you. I mean, I guess with United, were they the only team so far that were taking points away from Liverpool in the league, obviously?
Yeah, 1-1.
Sam, what do you reckon? Do you reckon you could pull off an upset at Anfield this weekend?
My heart and my head are two very different matters on this. I think it's, United have played best when they've been the underdog, which they are increasingly often these days. So, I know I said it last week, if anyone could get some points off Liverpool, it's Tottenham and Mourinho. The fact it's away probably makes us even more underdogs. So
I can't see it.
3-0 United.
I was really confident Liverpool would spank United at Old Trafford though earlier in the season.
So was I. So I think a draw. I think they'll take 2 more points off them.
Really?
Yeah. Liverpool will have an easier game this time round because obviously McTominay is injured. And I said that with a straight face, and none of you pulled me up on it. So the tide is
Just
turning
registering
on that one.
there. It's like,
What about bigger picture then, like with United? As a United fan, what for you has gone so horribly wrong? What's made it become a situation where you're so mediocre? Is it Fergie's exit? Is it bigger than that? Is it the way the club are run? Is it the signings?
I think there's been a cacophony of errors. But if you think about it just from a squad perspective, Liverpool have bought exceptionally well. They've bought the best players on those lower rung teams, and half of Southampton as well. But United have sort of gone the absolute opposite and have thought they've got to try and almost mimic the Galactico era and drop almost a minimum of 50-60 million on people who do not deserve it. There's obviously a United premium on their players, which is why you end up paying 80 million for Maguire. But they've just bought exceptionally poorly. There's no, even if you look at Henderson, who is, apparently he was England's Player of the Year, announced this week, but they've just bought no one of that ilk. There's no mentality-based players. There's no winners. It's a team of individuals. I think that Solskjaer, for all his lack of tactical nous, in my opinion, is bought reasonably well. They're all pretty young, and they all seem to just want to win a little bit more. It's the, my Ramos effect. A team of Ramoses would wipe the floor with any team. So that's what they've got to get back to. Whether they will or not is a completely different matter. If they're looking at buying Bruno Fernandes this transfer window.
You mentioned there about United signings, and I hadn't really thought about it in too much depth before, but it's quite interesting with Liverpool that their signings have been, like, certainly the past couple of seasons, past maybe 3 or 4 seasons, have been very consistently very good, which I think must be very rare. Like, I'm trying to think, at top level football, you always get duds. I mean, it's just part and parcel of football. You get flop transfers. It happens all the time. It's why Real Madrid's Galacticos era kind of went down, because they realised actually spending all this money on players isn't bringing in the results. It's so inconsistent. But what do you think it is that's made the situation where Liverpool signings have turned out so good? Do you think it's the scouting, or do you think it's the way they're managed?
It's both. I think it boils down a lot to Klopp, and I think if you look at United's squad as a comparison, they've got players who were bought for David Moyes, they've got players who were bought for Louis van Gaal, players who were bought for Jose Mourinho, and now they're going to end up with players who were bought for Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. And listen, if he's there in a year, I'll come back on this show and I'll admit I was wrong, but he won't be there in a year. No. He won't be the manager of United. So they're going to have, a new manager's going to have another group of players that he wants to buy. Whereas if you looked, let's say Klopp walked out of Liverpool tomorrow and you give Solskjaer the Liverpool job, bear with me on that. But how many would Solskjaer walk in and go, right, he's got to go. None. I would imagine none. If Klopp walked into Manchester United and went, right,
who do I keep?
Yeah, who do I keep? The list would be comparable. So I think Liverpool have bought players that, yes, the manager can get the best out of, but also they'll still be able to work without the manager. And I think Manchester United have bought too much down the, we buy for this particular manager without the sort of long-term strategy of, what happens if, Zlatan Ibrahimovic, he's 38 at the end of his first couple of years. I don't think they've thought with that kind of strategy in mind.
Yeah. Is that like the difference though, where are you in a better position when you're bringing players who are potentially world class or potentially like top players into an already successful, confident team like Liverpool have been doing for the last few seasons? Because even Klopp's created that aura around the club where you're joining something as a united front here and working towards a goal of what we want to achieve here. Once they've got that first trophy under their belt, then you're literally just picking the best little players, throwing them in. You don't have to necessarily pay the huge fees that United are having to pay to attract players into the club as well. I think even though there is this is a United play, if he wants to play for United, he's going to cost us 80 million. There's a little bit of we've actually got to crowbar these players out of teams. Maybe they're already over their peak slightly, the players, when they're bringing them in, and they're also bringing them into a club that isn't at the moment that successful. Yeah. So everything's like really disjointed on that front. Whereas Liverpool's like a flying V, and it's like you're joining.
But Liverpool when 5 years ago, Liverpool were buying players like Lazar Markovic and Mario Balotelli and Emre Can and people like that who could have become good players but didn't.
Was that similar then in that respect?
So like what they had to nail Klopp's first summer. They had to nail really, and they bought Sadio Mane and Gini Wijnaldum, who's still key players for them, and both, bargains now you'd look at in 25 million and 30 million.
Not obvious world beaters either.
No, because from the Premier League,
because I remember you signed Ronaldo from us when we got relegated, and I remember thinking, great at home, useless away from home, completely useless. And he might have wavered a little bit when he first signed for you, but now he's a very consistent player. Yeah. And Sadio Mane, he was great for Southampton, but again, you wouldn't say that player is going to be the best player in the world in a few years.
You'd never have put him in Ballon d'Or contention and things like Andy Robertson, another one. You'd never have said Andy Robertson was going to be. Joel Matip was a free transfer.
Oh yeah.
Came in, done a good job. Joe Gomez had signed from Charlton. So there's a lot of hits in it. I would say the only one that you could say didn't improve under Jurgen Klopp was the goalkeeper of Karius, who came in and was a cheap gamble that backfired. Other than that,
in one big way.
Had a lot of, I mean, I say backfired quite spectacularly, but at the same time, there's a lot more hits there than a lot of other clubs.
The more I think about it, it's buying players that fit for it's the team, but basically fit into a team and make a team. The whole idea of team before self, and Klopp obviously makes that much easier because he's built a great team and he's got a group of players who have got a shared mentality. Whereas United are obviously the perfect counter example. They're just dropping people in who, Sanchez is a great example. Matic arguably as well, and Pogba and anyone who they think is a marquee signing. They go, great. He looks like a great individual footballer, but has he got essentially that winning and same mentality? And that winning mentality, I think, needs to be for all 11 players. Ideally, you can probably carry one or two where they just, if you've got 9, 10 players with that, just where they're all in it together, and then you bring someone else in, they're going to adapt that mentality on a much higher probability than dropping Sanchez into United, where it's just an absolute clusterfuck.
You've got to know what your team is going to be, though, aren't you? That's the thing. That's what you're saying, essentially. You've got to know like what Klopp looks like. Klopp did. He knew what he wanted his team to be, and even if it took 2 seasons to make that team right.
But you need luck as well. So Liverpool got lucky in the sense that they didn't win the Europa League in the first season, which would have put them in the Champions League. They should have won it. They were 1-0 up at half-time against Sevilla, got beat 3-1. And that convinced Klopp that, right, goalkeeper is a problem, left-back is a problem. So we need to look at that. If that papers over the cracks and they win that 2-0, and you go, well, Alberto Moreno's just got into the Champions League there, so we'll persist with him. United, I think, won the Europa League the following year, beat Ajax, and got them into the Champions League. Yeah, and Mourinho's gone, within 18 months of that. And so you can take blessings from bad fortune or bad moments. You also need a little bit of luck. I mean, look, Andy Robertson wasn't Liverpool's first choice to sign at left back. They wanted Ben Chilwell, they wanted Ryan Sessegnon, they wanted Benjamin Mendy, they wanted Mario Götze and ended up with Sadio Mane, they wanted Julian Brandt and ended up with Mo Salah. Who knows, they might have all had the same impact, but it's hard to imagine, and looking at what's happened since, they wouldn't swap those players. But you also need a little bit of fortune in the sense that you land upon the right player at the right time, and also you've bought, or your scouts have put together the right sort of backups and alternatives, and they're not just doing what United have done, where one summer they'll sign a 19-year-old Anthony Martial, the next summer they'll go and sign Zlatan Ibrahimovic and say, no, we need proven quality now. I think the summer before that they signed Falcao on a big massive long loan deal. Then they go from signing Di Maria to, right, we need Matic because we need a real physical presence in midfield. There's not that scattergun. It's a case of, we can't get Mario Götze, but we need someone. Okay, there we go. We'll get Sadio Mane instead. I think Wijnaldum was a backup to a guy from Italy or from Poland, Zielinski. They wanted him and they couldn't really get him. They ended up with Wijnaldum because his profile was close enough for what they needed.
I think Salah was that one signing that Liverpool have made that sort of set the meteoric sort of rise of the team in motion, because it was almost comparable as soon as he signed to the impact Hazard had at Chelsea. He could change a game. He was and just levelled up to be a top 5 player in the world, which made it a hell of a lot easier for Liverpool to win. If you win, everything cracks on from there.
They were able to beat the smaller clubs, which was Liverpool's problem for years. Was always that Manchester United come to Anfield, they'll be right up for it. Yeah, Anfield on a big night, they'll go for it. Fulham at home, no, 0-0. We'll do that. Salah and Mane together in tandem with Firmino, I think went up a level once those two arrived. That became the case of, well, we'll beat anyone at Anfield, and we can go away as well to Crystal Palace or Watford or whatever, and we'll beat them as well.
I think for me it's hard to start downplay the impact you could say that Klopp has had as well, because you look at what he did with Dortmund and he achieved quite similar results in that you saw the impact he would have most visibly when that player who was starring for them would leave the club and actually struggle to repeat those performances elsewhere. It's only really, off the top of my head, Lewandowski who matched the performances at a consistent level. Hummels you could probably argue as well, but at a real consistent level, Lewandowski is still world class. A lot of those other players, Kagawa,
they'll be remembered for being at Dortmund.
Yeah, Sahin, and there were lots of players who just left and never achieved anything else. And for Klopp, it all fell down because he kept losing players, and that investment kept he wasn't able to achieve the same level of elite quality that Bayern Munich were. But Liverpool, they don't have that problem. They might have to sell players like Coutinho from time to time, but at the end of the day, they're still one of the richest clubs in the world. They can mostly back anyone except for Barcelona and Real Madrid.
And I think I'm right in saying they lost Lewandowski and Hummels on the free, didn't they?
Yeah.
They run the contracts, and Goethe announced he's leaving before they played the Champions League final against the club he's leaving for. That sort of thing doesn't seem to be happening at Liverpool. They've got all the main players, probably apart from Wijnaldum, tied down to 4 or 5 year contracts. Klopp himself's tied down, so there is that stability there that maybe wasn't there at Dortmund.
Do you think Gerrard will come in because their contracts expire at the same time, don't it?
Yeah,
surely you can't plan that far.
No, that's a hell of a risk. Yeah, but I think what you would say is Gerrard's going in the right direction if he wants to be Liverpool manager. You say, okay, it wasn't the job I expect him to take as his first management job, but it's a good chance for him. He can tick a few boxes, can't he? He's playing, high pressure. He's playing European football. They've got through to the knockout stages, the Europa League. He's got a giant to aim for in Scottish football terms to try and knock off, and he's able to learn a little bit away from the ultra intense media.
If he wins the league, I'm just looking at the table now, they're a game behind Celtic but only 2 points, so they could go top. He'd bring this team that hasn't won the league in a long time back to where they probably think they rightfully belong in his first job. It's not too dissimilar to Solskjaer, actually.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, I mean, I would suggest it's a bigger achievement, personally, than winning whoever you go into the Norwegian league. I think if you consider Rangers didn't exist 7 years ago or 8 years ago, and then to have them, not only to do that to win the league, but to do it at the expense of their great rivals who are going for the all-time record. I think that's the obsession. I think with Celtic at the moment is toppling Rangers 10 in a row and getting that, and obviously for Rangers to put the block on that, I think it would be hell of a achievement.
I heard Steven Gerrard talking about the Liverpool job on the Jamie Carragher podcast. He's fairly laid back about it at the moment, as he's got his priorities at Rangers, but he seemed to be saying as well that even if another club came in between the Rangers job and potentially the Liverpool job, he doesn't expect to get the Liverpool job, obviously, because
another club like happen. Cardiff, maybe.
Yeah. But I mean, it seems like an obvious fit. Is it an obvious fit for Gerrard to take over at Liverpool, or is it an easy fit once Klopp's kind of built this team and you've got guys on long contracts and maybe a few of these players stay for a decade or whatever, and Gerrard kind of slots in and doesn't have to overhaul things?
I wouldn't say it's an obvious fit, because when have Liverpool done it? Dalglish was the only one really who's been transitioned from being a legendary player to a manager, and he did it immediately. He went straight in, as a player manager. Beyond that, Souness went away and came back, and it didn't work. Roy Evans was a member of the boot room, and then they went away from that, obviously, with Houllier and with Benitez and Brendan Rodgers. So I wouldn't say it's one where you go, that's just that just is where Liverpool have been heading. But I think if he's successful and he's in the argument as a very good manager by the time that Liverpool are looking for one, then of course he'd be considered. But it's a massive risk for him. I think it'd be a huge risk for him to take a job anywhere other than Rangers in the interim, provided he doesn't get sacked by Rangers, which I don't see necessarily happening. If he was to take a job in the Premier League at Crystal Palace and just flop, then that you're not getting the Liverpool job, are you, ever?
Yeah,
because
Rangers does seem like quite a considered club for him to go to, whereas him almost implying that he would potentially manage somewhere else in the meantime. I'm guessing that wouldn't be another English club.
Yeah,
Rodgers played it quite well, didn't he, with Celtic? Built up his reputation, recovered it there, won a load of titles, and waited for a club that would come in that he felt matched his ambition. Swooped right back in there, the Premier League.
Walked out. Walked out and shredded his legacy. But no, that was a good move for Rodgers. I said at the time, actually, when he went, people said, he's sold out and gone up to Celtic, but it was perfect for him. He needed what didn't he have on his CV? He didn't have trophies, and he didn't have European experience, and he got both of them with Celtic.
Impressive. Dave, you don't really have a horse in this race, the Liverpool Man United race.
No.
Do you think United in the next few years could ever hope to get back to the level they're at, or do you think at this point it's pretty?
Well, I can't see it. I can't see it in the short term, because they have got guys on a lot of the problem players. The players who are performing at their best are on quite long contracts and on astronomical amounts of money. So which of the clubs are going to take them off their hands? What's the incentive for them to move? What's the incentive for Luke Shaw to move to another club?
Yeah,
when he's already earning crazy money at Man United. He's underperforming. And then there's quite a few. It's nice to see the young lads coming through at United, and your Greenwoods and Williams. But it must be weird for those players. Give it another season. If they're still performing as well as they are, they've got players in the squad who are earning twice as much money as they are.
Yeah, it just seems a really poorly run club. But I think it's also probably easy to say a lot of football clubs are poorly run, and that's probably why Liverpool stand out so well. Because they have a strategy, they have a cohesion behind the scenes. I mean, Barcelona are the richest club in the world now. I think it's like 800 million in revenue in 2018-19, but all over the place. Just the manager when they're top of the league, and they've got all sorts of problems on the pitch, off the pitch.
And it's only, 8 years since Liverpool were almost going to the wall. 9 years, obviously, this year, until they were almost going to the wall. They were in the High Court, fighting over who's going to take over the debt of the club and move it forward. Even after FSG took over, they had hiccups. They had Damien Comolli in charge of the club. They had Kenny Dalglish given a second go. They had, PR scandals and Luis Suarez affairs and these kind of things. They had a season where they nearly won the league. The next year they were, waving the white flag in Champions League games against Real Madrid, losing 6-1 against Stoke. They should have sacked Brendan Rodgers. They let him go on for another couple of months, painfully. And then it's only really in the last sort of 5 years that they've really got
learned from the mistakes a bit.
They've learned from the mistake, and people have come around to this view that actually there was a bit of strategy about certain things. They were buying certain types of players. They were putting certain people in key positions behind the scenes, and it does take time sometimes for that to pay off. And for all we know, Manchester United could be making significant moves in terms of their scouting department, their medical team, whatever. For all we know, but until the results start to reflect that, we won't give that appreciation.
Yeah,
at least during those rough times for Liverpool, they did have a player like Steven Gerrard on the pitch. Someone who was still waving the flag. I mean, who's that at United? Ashley Young,
McTominay.
Rashford.
McTominay's going to be the guy who's going to
he's
take the burden of United on his shoulder.
He's got the same Celtic roots as Keane, so therefore he's the same. And Rashford,
what, the band?
Basically, Scotland and anyway,
a friend of mine said, and he's a sage when it comes to football. He's a United fan. He said, "You'll know United at back when Scott McTominay isn't playing for them."
I completely agree with you.
Yeah, you'll know United at back when they don't need to put their faith in Scott McTominay because they've got a team that
functions
better.
Yeah. What's your favourite Liverpool Man United match that you've been to?
It's one Liverpool didn't win. It's the Europa League second leg at Old Trafford when Coutinho scored just on the stroke of half time, and just the watching the Liverpool end throughout half time just felt like, when you look at something and think, I wish I wasn't working tonight. I wish I was just in there.
wish I wasn't getting paid to watch football.
Yeah, I wish I was in there for 15 minutes. But that was one where Liverpool have had a little bit of success. I've not seen too much of it at Old Trafford, but I think that was one where, even though it was a draw and the game was probably always going to end up as a draw, it was just one of those where it's nice when the air is just taken out of a balloon and it's just, there you go. Deal with that.
Two of my favourites are ones that United haven't won either. It was when we went 3-0 up the long, 93, 94, I think.
Day,
we went 3-0 up at Anfield and then threw it away. I think Nigel Clough scored 2.
Yeah.
Great day. And the other one was when Liverpool absolutely battered United. I think it was the 13-14 season. I think it was 3-0 at Old Trafford. And I went to that one. And the atmosphere, it was like gallows humour. United just sang all the way through it. I think Suarez scored the third maybe, or Gerrard did. Yeah. And you couldn't detect it that it actually scored because the crowd just kept on singing. They just kept on singing 20 times. And it was a really amazing match to be
Moyes,
in.
wasn't it? That was the Moyes debacle. Yeah, I remember Rodgers walked in that day to the press room, and I think Moyes had said in the build-up, Liverpool go in as favourites at Old Trafford, and Rodgers came in, and he may as well have been topless. He was sort of like came in like, "Hi guys," it's like, "Hi." He was right, eh?
Yeah,
that was how he put it. And I think, that was probably Rodgers at his peak, where it was like, you couldn't touch him at that moment in time.
Yeah, Moyes wasn't
only
good
with
with the press, was he? He also, I remember United were playing Newcastle at home, and he said, "Yeah, we need to go out there and make it hard for them." You're like, fuck, it's Man United home to Newcastle. Come on.
Did they? Did they manage it?
I think we probably drew. Fellaini will have scored a last-minute header.
I enjoyed the 3-2 from 2010 when Berbatov scored a hat-trick.
Yeah, that over.
Because I had some money on that, and when Berbatov scored, I was like,
oh, really?
it's in there, yeah. And I was a student at the time, so it meant a lot to me. I was winning, I think it was like 50 quid I won.
There was a great one just before the Premier League. One of the first games I ever went to was United going for the league with Leeds, and they were denied it. Liverpool won. I think it was memorable because Rush had never scored against United in his career. It was like 92, and he scored, and I think they won 2-0.
Yeah, it was 2-0.
And I can always remember the singing "Always Look on the Bright Side of Life" to the United fans as they filed out. Who knew what pain was to come after that
for the next 30 years.
What are your predictions then for this week? And do you reckon?
I think Liverpool will win 2-0.
They'll
keep a clean sheet, and I think they'll win the game 1 or 2-0.
Dave?
I'll go 3-2 to Liverpool.
3-2 Liverpool. 3-2 Liverpool. Sam, what are you going to go with?
1-1.
1-1.
Yeah.
Bold. I'm going to go 3-0 Liverpool.
Comfort,
yeah. I reckon they might threaten him a little bit on the counter, but I think that
I can be filed by the hour there.
Yeah.
I'll take that.
Half time,
I'll take
3-0.
that, yeah.
Right then, leaving behind that chat, let's look specifically at Game Week 23. Before we run through mine and Dave and Sam's changes, Neil's put together his 1 week wonders team.
I have.
So he had to pick a team, 11 players, and then got some subs as well and a captain to get as many points as possible in one game week. Who have you got with, Neil?
Okay, so I'm looking at what I would actually change from the actual team, and it's 5, 6, 9, 11 changes.
So
yeah,
all of it.
pretty much all. But four of the ones I've left in will start for me. So we goalie, I've gone Ben Foster as my goalkeeper. I've got Darren Randolph as my sub. He's just signed for West Ham. Back three to start with. So given that I've just said Liverpool will win 2-0, I've got Van Dijk and Gomez. Gomez, the cheap route into Liverpool's defence.
When's Matip back?
He was available. He is available for this weekend, but I don't think he won't start. I think he'll play in the cup.
Do you think he'll nick that spot back off Gomez?
No, I don't. I think it'll be one of them where it's until you make it impossible for us to keep you in the team, you keep your shirt. And Gomez's record is last 10 games he's let in 1 goal.
Yeah, you've actually started keeping some clean sheets.
Yeah, and
the
only goal he actually conceded in that spell was when Jordan Henderson was playing centre back in the Club World Cup. So in terms of his record, it's pretty hot, even though he wasn't great against Spurs last week.
And he's a bit cheaper on FPL as well.
Yeah, 5.2 and Van Dijk 6.4. The two fullbacks are sort of 7 million plus, aren't they? So while he might get you more assists, I think we'll go for the clean sheet.
Play safe.
Straight choice between the two. So my third centre back, I've gone for Lewis Dunk, who Brighton are at home to Villa, yeah. And it's becoming a thing where you look for the fantasy league. I think where you go, who have Bournemouth got and who have Villa got?
Yeah.
Because then you put some players who are playing against them.
Yeah.
So I'll probably Dunk, and then my backups will be Balbuena of West Ham and Brandon Williams, the aforementioned Brandon Williams, who's £4 million.
Cheap and cheerful,
yeah. Midfield 4.
Cool.
2 Man City players, home to Palace, De Bruyne and Mahrez. I think Mahrez is one that I think a lot of people are going to get on. I think he's going to stay in the side the way he's been playing, and he's a goal scorer and a creator.
Yeah, 150,000 people have transferred him in this week already.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not surprised. He scored the first 2 goals of Villa, set another one up, and he's outscored him at United in the Carabao Cup as well. He was their main man, wasn't he? De Bruyne just, don't need to talk really about De Bruyne. Or same with Mane. I've gone for Mane over Salah.
Okay.
Because I think Mane has done it against United, or certainly looked more likely to do it against United. Salah's had a few very quiet games against United.
And he's got Brandon Williams.
I don't want to put that on his shoulders. 4th midfielder, Adama Traore, away at Southampton, I think.
Becoming a bit of a cult hero. time of the season.
Yeah.
A lot of fans.
Yeah.
I watched a little bit of the Wolves United replay last night, and like even Matic, you think he's a strong bruiser of a player. He was just smashing them all over the shop.
Yeah, I've spoke to Conor Cody about him last season when he first signed. I think the first thing I saw he did, he got the ball in his own half and just kicked it, and it landed somewhere near the corner flag, and he just ran past Benjamin Mendy. And I texted Conor Cody, said, "Who's this?" And he said he's one of them that, like, he said it's, like, if a ball goes behind the goal in training, he'll just go and get it. And he said it's like he always gets it before it's landed, behind the goal. It's just
rapid.
It's just rapid, and he seems to have added a little bit more to his game as well. I mean, he put a few good balls against United last night in the game I saw, and he's got a few goals and assists this season. Yeah. Wolves are a decent side. He's their main man at the moment. And then sub will be Campbell, who I know was in Dave's team.
He's done all right, Cantwell, this season. I know
price,
everyone kind of mocks him a little bit.
4.9 million. I mean, he's a very dislikable character, isn't he, with his Ibiza dance moves and whatever else. But Norwich are home to Bournemouth.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah. So again, the Bournemouth conundrum of that. If he needs to come in, I can see him scoring, and I think Pukki's out, so he might be the main source of goals. Front three, we're all going to play. Aguero, who'll be captain.
Aguero's captain, cool.
Yeah, Danny Ings, who great to see him back after such bad injuries, and seems to be pretty reliable for almost a goal a game at the moment.
So say Southampton get relegated, which they could easily do, and Ings goes, right, I was the top goal scorer last season. I want out. How much do you reckon he's worth?
Well, they paid 18 plus 2. They paid 2 million to loan him for a year and 18 to sign him.
And everyone was like laughing their heads off.
They paid 20 million.
Well, Bournemouth paid 19 for Dominic Solanke.
Yeah,
who had nowhere near the same level of CV as Danny Ings. So
was Ings out for? Was he out for over a season?
He had 2 ACL injuries.
Yeah,
so he got injured whilst I think it was Klopp's first training session in 2015. Didn't return until sort of the next season, and then did it again, and then he was out till sort of the end of the 18 season.
I think that was just a gamble, wasn't it? Then it was just he hadn't played for so long. How do we know he's still got it?
Absolutely,
well,
but
look at him now.
He's done it. He's done it for Burnley. He's done it for Southampton, hasn't he? He's a capable Premier League goal scorer. Definitely, I think you'd be looking
50 mil.
Well, double what they paid for. Let's say 30 or 35.
There's no way he'd pay 50 mil for a Championship striker.
It's not Tammy Abraham's a Championship striker, mate.
If he got relegated, this is what you're saying. You're saying if Southampton got relegated, they wouldn't sell him 50 million. They'd sell him for cheaper.
What about if he went to the Euros with England?
He should go to the Euros.
He should be asking the question. If he doesn't. And nice segue. Last striker, Tammy Abraham.
Oh, right, okay.
Away at
Harry
Newcastle.
Kane was like, oh, you fucked up there.
Yeah,
mate.
away at Newcastle.
He scored at the weekend.
Scored the weekend.
Not a Championship team, Sam, I'd like to point out.
Yeah, we know broken clock and all that.
Yeah, he. It's not an easy set of fixtures this week because I don't. There's only a couple. I mean, City are probably the only ones that you go, they'll batter them. Arsenal have got Sheffield United at home, where you think, and Aubameyang's out, so you think Sheffield United one of the good defences in the league, and Arsenal just Arsenal. So taking a gamble on Abraham away at Newcastle in the evening kickoff.
We are crap. I
think they could. I think Chelsea
could
win 2-0 and Abraham get both of them or something along them lines.
Yeah, he went Aguero's captain, was it?
Aguero captain, yeah. We'll have him.
Another week like this week would be good for you then. 20 points, 40 points. So the high score you've got to beat, by the way, is 70. Amy last week, she got 53, which is one better than what she got in her first stint. So Rob Parrish was one who got 70 points. So he's flying high. We haven't had many scores that high though. I
got 79 last week, so I'm in the hitting zone.
Yeah.
Who's the highest scoring correspondent so far? Is it Charles?
I think it might be. Let me get this open. It is. Peter Staunton got 65 and Charles Watt got 64. Above them two, Oliver Lyons was 69 and Rob Parrish was 70. So they're the top four.
I fancy my chances.
Not many.
Sergio will get me in on his own.
They're the only four that got over 60. A lot of people. I mean, the worst is 32. So I mean, I think you can beat 32 with that score.
They just all got to play, haven't
they? Let's look at our teams then, Dave and Sam. What are your teams looking like? Any changes?
Yeah, one. Obviously, I brought Aubameyang in last week, and now he's got to go straight back out because he's banned for 3 games. So I've knee-jerked along with everyone else and brought Aguero in. Same price, easy peasy. I was and still am considering dropping Dele Alli for Mahrez, but then I've got 3 City players, and he's not dropped De Bruyne for a while. He's not dropped Mahrez for a few games, and it's Palace, so
I can't deal with Man City.
I'm spinning that pep roulette there. But he's got to start picking his best team all the time because they're fucking miles behind Liverpool, and they've got to try and close that gap. So, yeah, I'll weigh that one up.
You've been flirting with Ali dropping for a while, haven't you?
I know.
Never quite making it.
He's had his little...
he has had a
good couple of games.
Little Jose boost.
Yeah, I think he did the same thing last season. Went on like a 4 or 5 game stint of scoring and assisting, and then nada. So yeah, the rest of the team stays the same. It's Henderson, Tarkowski, Kelly, Soyuncu, Lundstram, and my boy Williams. Mane, De Bruyne, Martial, Cantwell, Ali in midfield, and then Vardy, Aguero, and Ayew up front. Ayew got another 9 points for me on a non-picked sub.
He's got so many points for you from that bench. All season long.
Away at City, though, isn't he?
That's like my silver lining this season, because you're above me. I'm just like,
I reckon if you added up all my sub points, I'd still have more than Dave. Just took my subs into account.
I had it with Lundstram.
You've had it?
All through the first half of the season, me thinking, he can't carry on scoring. They're not going to give another clean sheet. And then every week it'd be Lundstram 12 points on the bench.
We had a guest who came on, and his entire defence was just Sheffield United defenders, and I was like, that's bold. Yeah. They got a clean sheet, and it was
eggs in the
smart,
basket. That one.
Dave, what about you? Any changes?
No transfers, but I think I'm gonna just fiddle around with the lineup slightly. I'm taking Kelly out because obviously Palace are playing Man City. Put Lundstram in. They're playing Arsenal. I think they did quite well against them last time, but this is a bit of a different. This is Arteta's Arsenal.
Sheffield United are one of those scenes where it's like, they're away from home, and then you think, oh wait, no, they're actually incredible away from home.
So potentially it could do all right. Relying on Liverpool to keep a clean sheet against Man United with Alexander-Arnold and Van Dijk at the back. Midfield wise, I'm going to stick with it. So it's Mane, Decore, Maddison, De Bruyne, and Cantwell. And then Vardy and Ings up front, and I've dropped Calvert-Lewin to the bench. Everton playing West Ham. Obviously, West Ham are a bit more of a difficult proposition under David Moyes, or at least appear to be that way. But that bench looks horrendous. But
put your bench boost on for that one. Yeah. 2 Everton players, a Bournemouth and a City at the Crystal Palace away at City.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Clean up that.
Stay away from that. Don't go anywhere. So yeah, I suppose the next thing is captain. Who's it going to be? Stick with Vardy?
Do you not need to change your goalie?
I kind of feel like it, but should I just stick Stecklenberg in just for the hell of it?
Just for fits and giggles.
Someone's going to give him a run out.
Yeah.
For me, I've made one change, so I put Van Dijk in. But I know that I've left it so long now. I've looked at Liverpool's defenders for so long, like, they're getting so many clean sheets. But because all my defenders are dirt cheap, it's really hard to swap someone out. You can't straight swap it. So I've had to tinker with my team all the time. And then I remember at one point I was ready to make a Liverpool defensive substitution. I think it was Son got a red card, completely derailed my plans. I had to change it up. But finally, I've got him in there. I actually did the transfer before the game week just gone, during the first match on Friday night, because I was so adamant I had to get him in there. And I just think he's quite good value. I mean, I know he's more expensive than Gomez, but I think that he's an undervalued in what he is right now. 6.4 million. He hasn't really gone up in price, despite clean sheet after clean sheet.
And he's
a
bonus point magnet, isn't he? Because he looks so cool and stylish when he does it, and you often see those players rewarded, I think, with...
Fingers crossed. I hope so. And I can see them keeping a clean sheet against United.
He's back now, Son, isn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah, he played last week against Liverpool.
And yeah, I've got him back in my team now, and I'm hoping that the fact that Kane isn't there means someone's got to score those goals for them.
Yeah.
But, Mourinho's Spurs aren't looking particularly great at the moment. They won midweek, didn't they, in the FA Cup?
Yeah, I thought they did all right against Liverpool, who are arguably one of the best Premier League teams to ever have existed.
Yeah, they were naff against Southampton, though.
Well, yeah.
Yeah,
all right, yeah.
Dead air is a crime.
Yeah.
So my full 11, Pope in goal. I need to get him out, actually. I don't know why he's still in there. I know. I cannot get him out of that team, but I might take a -4 hit to get him out. We'll see. Anyway, Pope in goal, Van Dijk, Soyuncu, Dunk in defence, Martial, Son, De Bruyne, Maddison and Mane in midfield. Mane's my captain. because I just keep him as captain now because he's just always getting points. I don't think he did that well, did he, at the weekend? He might have got an assist.
Yeah,
maybe.
no, he didn't. He
get
didn't
anything.
just 3 points. Yeah, just got a clean sheet.
Yeah, I think I flirted with the idea of De Bruyne and I went off it and I regretted that. But the thing is, it'll pay off in another week if you just stick with Mane, it's safe. And then in attack, I've got Abraham and Vardy. In my bench, Stecklenburg, Kabasele, Lundstrom and Greenwood. Greenwood, I probably could have started and he should have started last week because did he score off the bench?
Came off the bench, yeah.
Yeah. So it's really good value though when you think. I think he's 4.3 million.
Yeah.
For a player who's now increasingly starting for a decent team.
A lot of faith in Stecklenburg. He'll come
Across
good.
the board.
He'll come good.
All right, let's wrap this up. Dave, Sam, Neil, thank you very much for joining us today. Listeners, you can get in touch by tweeting your fantasy football thoughts with the hashtag UKFFS. Don't forget to subscribe on Apple, follow on Spotify, or however you listen to podcasts on your favourite platform. Leave a review if you liked it, and if you didn't, what are you still doing here? Check out Goal for your daily dose of football news from the Premier League and around the world. Thanks for listening.